Alright, are we good? Okay, well, I'd like to welcome all of you folks out there in internet land, and we have an interesting thing before us. We're actually going to delve into the realm of comparative religion. Now, comparative religion to a lot of people might be this big, hefty thing that, oh my goodness, so many possibilities and paths we can take through this. So I thought I'd take a moment and actually explain what is comparative religion. And, well, it's a study. It's an analytical study that a lot of scholars take, and it literally compares beliefs, customs, rituals, myths, and even cultures of religions of the world. But what I hope the goal of this particular study group, I say it's, I'm the only person here right now, but with this particular study group, I'd like to take the Correllian idea of the diamond, which says that deity or spirit has many faces, much as the diamond has many facets. So if we can compare religions and even witchcraft and Wiccan traditions to see what the overarching themes are, to generalize it through a Correllian looking glass, would be a wonderful goal to work through. And you know, as Reverend Lewis says in the Witch School's First Degree, we believe that deity is in all things, and that therefore all paths lead to deity. So, it is almost exceedingly important to understand world religion and Wiccan beliefs and tradition and culture, modernly and even through history. So let's delve into a little bit of the meat of the whole situation. Scholars of comparative religion believe that religions can be set up into three main groups of belief. These can be summed up by the Abrahamic religions, the Indian religions, and of course the Taoic religions. All three of these groups do, of course, have subsets. They're umbrellas. With the Abrahamic religions, we look at such religions as Judaism, Christianity, and under Christianity's umbrellas, things like Mormonism and even Islam. And again, Correllianism likes to refer to these religions as book religions, which is not a derogatory thing at all. It just means that these religions do indeed have a sacred text. We have the Holy Bible in Christianity, the Book of Mormon with the Mormons, the Talmud or the Torah in Judaism, and of course the Holy Quran in Islam. But then a little different, we go into the Indian religions, which of course cropped up around the area around India of Southeast Asia, into that, and just broadened out from there. And religions such as these are Buddhism, Hinduism, and of course Sikhism. But there is a great deal more within the realm. Some people believe that the early Greek and Roman religions would fall into the classification of an Indian religion, and even that of the Norse, ancient Norse religion, of which we get such dignitary tools as the runes. But third and finally, as we mentioned, we have the Taoic religions, which contain the very philosophical aspects of religion, such as Confucianism, Taoism, and the Shinto religion. And a lot of people like to refer to these religions as philosophies. Let's take a look at Confucianism, just now for a moment. Confucianism, comes from Confucius, the great philosopher of early medieval and ancient China. And Confucius was, or is known, as a philosopher. So, we can say that Confucius, more than a religious figure, is much more of a philosopher. Like, I don't want to compare him to Nietzsche, but he's in the same general realm, general philosophy realm. But saying philosophy is general, well, that's a whole other barrel of fish. But the interesting thing I'd like to take a look at through this study group is what about witchcraft and Wicca? Where do they fit in? You see, in these lists of Abrahamic religion, of the Indian religion, the Taoic religions, Wicca and witchcraft does not necessarily fall into any of these categories. So a question that, again, as I keep asking, is where do they fit in? They certainly cannot be, Wiccan traditions cannot fall under the Abrahamic religions because we don't follow the God of Abraham. What Jewish people refer to as Yahweh. It's not a big part. You have the sect of Christo-pagans that will take Yahweh and the Christian God into account. But other than that, the vast majority of pagans tend to move away from that Abrahamic belief. But then we move into the Indian religions. Not necessarily able to fit there either, but some Wiccans do indeed use the Hindu pantheon in their everyday worship, shall we call it. I'm familiar with a few pagans that use Ganesh or Kali, all of which come from that realm of religion. And finally, we, of course, again have the Taoic religions, and maybe we can make the argument that certain traditions within Wicca and witchcraft are primarily philosophy-based. We can make the argument for Correllianism. Correllianism itself has a large part of new modern Wiccan philosophy, so maybe it could fit there. However, a great deal of Taoist ideas don't surround a pantheon of deities, but really focus on the Tao, the universe. But then again, within the pagan community, we have the primordial deity, the aspect of spirit or deity that was not God or goddess, but the duality together, upon which the goddess separated, and of course the god separated, and we have those two different groups. So maybe we can be fit more easily within the Taoist religions. But there it is. So, through that, let's take a look at a couple of religions to throw that out there again. There is the overarching theme of the creation myth. And through such works as l'Evangelo della Strega, or sometimes called the Aradia, which is Middle Ages work, which was dictated to scholars such as Charles Leland. Now, the Evangelo della Strega has the Italian witchcraft's version of the creation myth with the chaos deity, more specifically the primordial deity that existed almost in nothingness, in darkness almost. So there the goddess crops up, and separates from her we have the god, if you want to compare to it, the goddess being the essence of life. The god became life itself, the manifestation of life. He is the wheel, and the goddess is the water that turns that wheel. General creation myth. So there the god goes down to create the physical, and the goddess stays up in the divine. So we have these two different separate things here. For lack of a better phrase, we have earth, and then goddess being space, the universe. But the goddess wanted to reconnect with the god because, well, he is indeed her consort. So she had to fall into physical, which is where the god was. So this brings us the planes of existence. From highest to lowest, we have where the goddess is, down to the monadic, into the egoic, then into the astral, and then finally we go into the thinking or the mental process, the emotional, and then the physical, which is where the goddess, the great spirit, separated into all the spirits that now inhabit this earth. So that is one general creation myth, which centers primarily around the creation of some sort of earth. And of course very popular is the book of Genesis, or the creation myth that comes from Genesis, when this divine being says, you know, this is simplifying it, but let there be an earth, and there it is. He creates this earth. This God creates this earth, and there's, let there be light, and of course there are the stars and the sun and the moon. All of a sudden these are made into being. The difference between these two is you have, within the Vangelo or the Aradia, you have the duality. But within the Christians, you don't have that duality. However, you have the central idea of the physical creation, physical manifestation that is separated from the spirit. But the efforts to get back to the spirit is where these religions can, in essence, be compared. So just out of random curiosity, I wonder if there's anybody out on the internet that would have to have an idea to bring to me in my confused ramblings.
Well, the creation myth that you just described of man as the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and the feminine as the space. Is that specifically the strega?
That, to my understanding, it is specifically coming from the Evangelical Data Strega.
Okay.
But at the same time, you have, I believe, yin would be the male masculine energy, and yang being the female energy, and that is still similar within the Vangelo. Yang being the physical manifestation, the ability to move forward, when the yin is more of the want to go, the fuel that drives the car almost.
I've always personally viewed the physical as more of a feminine thing, because people view Earth as more of a feminine figure as opposed to the sky, which is usually viewed as a masculine energy.
Well, that's where the interesting thing comes apart, because you're talking about Mother Gaia.
Yes.
For instance, Mother Gaia would be Mother Earth, and of course you have Kronos, who was Father Sky, for instance. And Lord of Time. But through that, the only correlation from the Vangelo into what would be the Roman or Greek traditions, which we have Gaia and Kronos there, you see the only correlation that can come off at the top of my head right now is that Kronos and the god are both Lord of Time. They both do the dance of life. They are the Lord of the dance. They are the manifestation of life itself. When the goddess is the nurturing mother, what gives us the ability to live. So therefore, with Gaia and Kronos, you have Gaia being Mother Earth, who is allowing all her creation, or all that she helped to create, be sustained by her. So she is still the method by which we live, as Kronos would be the actual living through time. So, but again, if you want to still compare it, you still have the male and the female, the feminine and the masculine, the yin and the yang. It still is there. Duality is still present, which is why we can generalize all of these separate religions.
Okay.
So sometimes you have the flip-flop in where the male, who is the male and who is the female. But still, basic duality does exist. If there's anything else out there, I'd be curious to know. No? All right. Well, then I will then bring it to a potential book that I would like to examine in this study. We have Real Energy, which is by Phaedra and Isaac Bonowitz. And Real Energy does, it explains energy workings, how different cultures, different sects, different religions deal with energy working. We go through quantum theory, the ki or chi, prana, and even something as, I don't want to call it silly, but even in something as cultural and secular as the Force from Star Wars is all mentioned within Real Energy. And I thought it would be a fine complement to comparative religion, because, in my opinion, each and every part of religion deals in some way with energy working. With Wicca and witchcraft, we have divinations and psychism. From Japanese ki, we have Reiki. Reiki, of course, is another form of energy working that comes through. And all forms of magic are energy. So maybe we could take a look at what energy actually is through this, going through Real Energy. But I think that leaves us with a fine foundation as to what this group of comparative religions is. So, I invite everyone else who is interested in joining us. Please join us in the flesh if you can, but definitely in cyberspace if you can't. But before we go, I'm informed that we do have a question somewhere.
Where can they find you in the flesh?
Well, they can find us in the flesh at 57 Wharf Street in Salem, Massachusetts, at the World of Witches Museum, which is a great place to come and hang out and take some... Oh, and we are always scheduled at 7 p.m. Every week on Tuesday. So, there it is. I would like to thank anyone for watching and being participating, and hopefully next week will be a bit smoother. But again,
So you're going at the idea of comparative religions from the viewpoint of energy?
yes, to start out. Comparative religions through the viewpoint of energy working. Different means of energy.
All right.
Snow Wolf says hi.
So Snow Wolf says hi.
Oh, hi to Snow Wolf then.
So where do you want to start in the book?
Well,
what are we going to do? What are we going to get ready for next week?
If we're going to get ready for next week, I would simply start with the introduction, which gives a brief overview of the book as a whole. And there are a couple of sections here. Like the first section is what do we mean by real energy? It explains dualism and polarism and something called pluralism, which means pretty much everything is everything. So it gives you a brief overview of what energy is. And it'll be a fine way to delve into cultures around the world, not only through religion, but definitely a large part of it. So, should be exciting. Hopefully more exciting than just staring at me, chatting away like a crazy old person, but we shall see. Is there anything else that's popping up before I decide to run away?
Snow Wolf says you're not old at all.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm happy to not be old. I'm actually not old. But anyway, again, I'd like to thank you all for viewing this, if a little rough, first run of the Comparative Religions, and I invite you back again every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And if you want to join us in the flesh, we are again at 57 Wharf Street in Salem, Mass. at the World of Witches Museum. A fine place to hang around and maybe learn a few things. Thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful rest of your...
What are we doing for next week again?
The introduction to real energy.
Okay, just the introduction.
Just the introduction. Start off nice and simple.
All right.
So thank you again for viewing. Have many blessings.
Anything else? Okay.
Many blessings.